This is a protection meeting discussion on disability insurance. So John and Mary, we're looking at the current overview here and looking at specifically your disability insurance. So you can see that we've labeled that as underprotected. So if I click on the word disability insurance, it will show you the coverages that you have in place. So John, you have both group short-term and long-term disability in the amount of $5,000 per month. And then Mary, you have $2,500 a month of long-term disability as well through your employer. So that's great that your employer provides that for you. Now, John, when we look at your short-term versus long-term, the short-term disability is there to cover you. You can see the benefit period is 90 days. So it's there to cover you for the first 3 months of a disability period. And while that's nice coverage to have, what we're more focused on is the group long-term disability coverage, which covers you after the initial 90 days all the way out until age 65. So again, when we look at our protection overview, we're focused on what could happen to you in a catastrophic way that could permanently affect your balance sheet. So we're worried about what if you were disabled, not for the next 2 to 3 months, but what if you're disabled for the next 20 or 30 years? That's where the catastrophic effects come into play. That's where you could lose your potential full human life value of the $4 to $5 million that we looked at earlier. So John, you're making currently about $150,000 a year. And because of the way your income is structured and the way that your disability caps out, if you were disabled, that $150,000 a year would stop and it would be replaced by roughly $5,000 a month, which is about $60,000 a year. Now add to that the fact that your group disability insurance, because your employer is taking a tax deduction right now as they pay the premiums for you, that group disability benefit is actually taxable to you. So the $5,000 a month is going to feel more like $4,000 a month on an after-tax basis. So if you think about it, you're going from about $150,000, maybe $130,000 net after taxes, down to about $4,000 a month, or about $48,000. So, John, if you were disabled, do you think your lifestyle, your daily habits, like going out to eat, your power bills, your water bills, your cell phone bills, do you think any of those would change, or would they stay fairly similar to the way they are now? Exactly. You would probably continue to have the same bills, monthly bills coming in. Your mortgage is still due, your car payments are still due, etc. So what generally happens during a disability period is that your lifestyle stays pretty close to the same. In fact, your lifestyle could actually go up a little bit because now you have perhaps doctor's visits, prescription costs, maybe physical therapy that needs to be done as well. So, and those are all additional costs that maybe come in over and above your daily lifestyle habits. So what we generally find during disability period is that your living expenses don't really go down much, and in fact they could go up a little bit. So let me ask you this: if your household income was reduced on an after-tax basis from $130,000 down to $48,000 on your side, so roughly $80,000 a year reduction, which I guess is about $7,500 a month. How would things change for you and Mary and the children if you were forced to live off of $7,000 to $8,000 less a month? What things would be different for you? Would you be able to continue to send your kids to the private schools that they're going to now? Would you be able to continue to be involved in the country club? Would it maybe even force you, if the disability period was long enough, would it force you perhaps to have to downsize from a housing standpoint? So those are all the things that we're concerned about with this level of disability coverage. So what I'd like to talk to you about is we can actually implement what's called supplemental disability insurance, and that disability insurance layers on above your current group disability coverage. And there's a few great things about supplemental disability insurance. Number one, obviously it increases the benefit amount. And we've taken a look, and we think we can get you maybe an additional $4,000 to $5,000 a month of supplemental disability coverage because some of your current some of your current income is not being covered. For instance, your bonus is not being covered. So we think you can almost double your benefit for one thing. And then with supplemental disability insurance, another great thing is that you pay the premium with your after-tax dollars, right, that are coming out of your checking account or your savings account or whatever it might be. And therefore the disability benefit, if you were actually disabled, would be received tax-free. So as opposed to $5,000 in your group coverage, as opposed to $5,000 being reduced to $4,000 a month, in your supplemental policy, the full $5,000 would be available to you on a tax-free basis. So just in the time where you need that additional income, the supplemental policy is able to provide that without the effects of taxes reducing that. The last great thing about supplemental disability insurance is that if you left your current occupation and you either went to a new company or if you ever went into business on your own, that policy is what's called portable, meaning that it can go with you to your new occupation. So if you put a supplemental policy in place, it's yours forevermore until you decide to let it go. So there's some great benefits to having a supplemental disability policy. So what I recommend we do is just like we're going to research how much it costs to implement an umbrella policy. We're going to call the property and casualty guy to figure that out. I think we should also investigate the potential for putting additional disability insurance in place, a supplemental disability policy. Now, with the umbrella coverage, we could simply call the property and casualty agent, and he can give you quotes over the phone. Disability is a little bit more complex than that because they need to look at not only your earnings history, but also your health history to figure out, number one, if you can even get disability insurance, and then if you can, how much it would cost per the amount of disability that they offer you. So what I'd like to do is, and the way we would do that is through an application. So we'll go through, fill out a questionnaire, and then they'll do what's called a paramedical exam, where they'll take some basic health measurements from you, blood pressure and height and weight and blood and urine samples. And then from that, they'll be able to figure out, number one, again, if they'll cover you, because this coverage is not available to everyone. You have to qualify for it. And then if you do qualify for it, then they'll tell you how much it costs. And so again, our goal here is to go through that process and figure out how much it costs, and then maybe a couple of meetings from now, as we have a full understanding of what your cash flow looks like, and we have a full understanding of how much all these different protection coverages cost, we'll be able to make an educated decision as to how much to put in place. Again, I'm going to push you to have optimal coverage, the full amount possible, because my goal for you is to fully protect that earning ability, that $4 to $5 million of potential earnings that exist on your balance sheet right now, so that you can accomplish all the things that we've listed on the wish list.